Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I always want to come prepared for what it is I want to talk about, but I just don't have this person's name in my head. And I want to swing from the hip because I think it's more authentic when I do that. So rather than to stop this video and get back over there and figure out what was the guy's name, who cares, man? I don't think it's important. I think you guys are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're in this era and you're watching the situation, if you don't know what I'm talking about, then him not being named will still give you plenty of understanding when it's all said and done. This person, Kanye West, has been seen with, I guess, is an offensive guy who's had his own platform, said some things that have been considered racist toward people that belong to Kanye and myself's group, black folks. And I just heard a snippet of what he was saying, and Jamel Hill posted what he had said, and then she had put a caption underneath, and essentially what she was alluding to my best understanding, was that, you know, this is somebody who needs to be seen as someone who further pushes hatred and otherwise needs to be condemned, right? And by the GOP, she basically said, and then I'm realizing, I'm like, yo, this is politically driven, meaning that whatever the opinion is that Jamel is pointing toward that individual is based on her allegiance to the Democratic Party. And that's when it gets lost for me, because I see the fruit in going through politics as a means of getting things done. So for those who align themselves in that game, that's just what they're playing. And they're hoping to get a lot of things done. So I don't think that just because people align themselves in that space and get connected into that world, that doesn't necessarily mean that their heart isn't in the right place or that they've sold their soul or whatever. But what I will say is, once you step into that arena, you're compromised. And that's why I kind of speak this way in regards to Kanye West. He's already in there, he's already in the mix, but I do believe that it's the art form of getting yourself in positions politically. The way that they go about the business of doing that just leaves a lot of room for things to get pushed through, because of the fact that it's attached to a political side. You know what I mean? And I think that that's one of the reasons why things have gone left in this country. I think it's one of the reasons why this country has stayed so very on opposite ends of each other, is because we continue to engage in this very, very old practice of split political parties. And I just think that when you align yourself to one side and say, I'm siding with this side, what you got to understand is that both sides have done so much wrong and have gotten themselves intertwined so much in one way or another, to where, to people like myself, there's no real trust for either party. I feel much more comfortable just staying independent and just going with what feels right for me, not necessarily aligning myself with a side. You know what I mean? Now, like I said, I see the fruit in doing so, because once you do so, you can align yourself a lot of different ways. There's a lot of good reasons why you want to get a backing. You know what I mean? It's sad to say, but it's almost the same way as you would look at it in a game. It's almost the same way. It's like you need strength in numbers. If you want to make moves, you got to do it with people. There's an establishment already in place. So if you're gonna make moves within that establishment, it's probably best to have a flag that is already established, so that your voice can have more power. I get all of that. It's much harder for an independent person to get things done. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, once you slap that blue or that red on, now you about the business of that blue or that red. And so for me, it's like, I'd rather not, you know what I mean? I'm cool, man. I was raised in a Democratic household, and I have grown to understand that independent is the only way to be. I don't even think I've switched, to be honest with you. I'm probably listed as a Democrat, but I'm telling everybody, I don't trust the system itself. I don't know if, when I see someone point themselves in a position to just be aligned with a political party, that I don't just automatically think that that's a godless situation there. Like, that's where my head goes. Like, you with them people behind the curtain, basically, because they're in a fight with each other. Democrats, Republicans, they're in a long-lasting battle with each other, and everybody who puts on one color or another, now you inherit their beef. It's just like street beef. That's why it's like, I'm from LA, man. In a bigger scale, on a wide scale, when you look at the Democrats and Republican thing, to me, it ain't that much different. It ain't much different, y'all. I'm not gonna lie to you. I see it the same way. They represent the same. It means the color scheme is the same, for God's sake. So it's like, I don't know, man. I don't play with stuff like that as it pertains to. I don't think that you want a compromisable system affecting actual change. And we've allowed for this to be the case our whole time, 500 years, however long it's been with this country being in place. And we've done this, and it's just how you do it, and it's what you guys are doing. And I'm just one person, you know what I mean, born into the world that I'm in. But I'm telling you, as sure as my brain works as it does, I never thought that was the right way to do things, man. It just ain't the best way. I don't know if we have a better way, but I think we're going to evolve to find one. And when we do, we'll look back on this and see it the same way I look at it now. This is not the right way to go about getting real stuff done. Things are too sensitive to be relying upon popularity contests to put people in positions to make those decisions. At all. Like, that's a very, very we can improve upon that a great deal. We really need to, because people can slip their way into different things and just do a bunch of stuff. And I think that's just the era we're in, where we're so very aware of people slipping themselves in to do things and compromise stuff and use misdirection and all that. We talk about it so much, so it's like, yeah, man, nah. until I start actually seeing something in regards to that really makes sense to me, I'm not going toward it. That's really where I am in regards to certain things. I have to be explained, or I have to do the homework myself, for which I haven't done, to know exactly why it actually adds up. And if it does not add up, then I'm just going to assume it's a norm that isn't normal and needs to be thought around, worked around, or just discarded of, basically. Because I think a sheep mentality has been hurt. People have been hurt in a lot of different directions for reasons that were built on hypocrisy. And I just don't want to carry that forward in my life. I don't want to carry those traditions to people who are going to be following my voice. I don't think that that's the way we need to be raising our kids going forward at all. I look all over the world and I see people rising up trying to get their freedom. And everywhere I look is somebody trying to fight for the ability to free up. And I just know that freedom is coming. And then progress is slow because of whatever set of reasons, and that's cool. But it's like, people want to still accept that progress needs to be slow, and I just don't. Not in the presence of the internet, not when we have this new tool. No, progress don't have to be slow. We don't have to wait 40 years for us to finally have our freedom. No, you use your real-time cameras to shame people who are not letting people have those freedoms right now, and you put that pressure on them to get that freedom done immediately. And that's what we need to be all over the world. And if we're not doing that, we're just keeping up the bullcrap, and we're allowing those who benefit from that to continue to align their pockets. And the practices from which they continue to run are just practices that have been in place all this time. So if we happen to see what's underneath the curtain, we need to point it out for that reason. You know what I mean? And not let those who want to keep this going keep it going. For one, they can't keep it going because they don't know what they're doing with the new internet, as we always talk about. And the second reason why is because they don't have their heart in the right place as a whole, and they've given up on any sense of what it means to function under a god. You know what I mean? That's essentially what it is. They're a godless entity at this point, if they ever were a God-fearing entity. And so now that we see all of this and we're looking at it for what it's worth, and we see all of the different lies and people still trying to uphold the evil of it all, we just continue to speak against it. We speak against it with a matter-of-fact understanding that it has an expiration date. You know what I mean? It has an absolute expiration date. So all this different stuff that I'm looking at, I'm saying, okay, the people behind the curtain, as we always talk about, have enemies that maybe, we may think are our enemies as black cults, as black people. We may think our enemies are the same enemies that actually are their enemies. And so because we may be in a position to celebrate when those enemies get striked by our mutual enemy, it doesn't mean that our mutual enemy is to be rooted for. And that is what happens when you're dealing with the low frequency complex entity that is our country, and the racial issues that it ultimately deteriorates because of. And so that's how I look at it. I look at us as a deteriorating spiritual entity, this country. And it's always been because of the divided nature of itself. It just is divided by nature. Built on hypocrisy, divided by politics. And I just know better than to think that that's going to be a strong foundation from which to move forward in a world that's changing ever so fast. And so as I look and I use my voice against some of this nonsense that I'm paying attention to, I look at people like the individual that Kanye's been talking about that has gone unnamed because I forgot his name, and I realize I need to look at him through a different lens, because the same way I was taught how to look at myself, I was taught how to look at him too. And so as I listened to what was coming through the screen by way of Jamel Hill's political post, I started to realize that this person was very offensive, very, very demonstrative in his opinions, trying to be entertaining, for which I definitely understand because I run my own YouTube, so I know what it means to capture the opinions or capture the try your best to capture the minds of others, because that's kind of what it is that we're doing. So as I look at him put extras on his opinions, I listen to what he's saying and simply saying he doesn't understand. He's leaving himself all kinds of outs in terms of, if I'm in the presence of some people who would want to knock my head off, I can convince them that I don't want to kill them and that they shouldn't want to kill me with the way that I'm wording certain things. So I'm watching them and I realize, okay, this is an intelligent person who knows how to step over certain lines and how best to keep himself from going back over those lines. So I'm like, all right, this is a reasonable person. Not like they're telling me he is. They're telling me he's a brash racist without any sense, but I'm listening to him and I'm deciphering what the energy I'm getting from him. And he's really just a clout chaser who needs to be explained why certain things are as they are. And once he realizes what it is that's missing, the blanks that are missing, he will then apply that same skepticism to whatever it is that he sees in a logical way. And so what I'm telling you is, he's a free thinker. And sometimes free thinkers look like racists, because we're living in a world full of hypocrisy, and in order to point out those behind the curtain, you have to be able to look at their enemies, and sometimes those enemies are pointed at each other, just like I just said. And when you're sitting there observing it, and you're pointing it out for what it is, you're going to be matter of fact about both sides. Jamel Hill's post, essentially what I got from the context is he was talking about the black side of things and what he saw. And his misunderstandings based on the fact that he's not from these places. He don't understand why we do certain things, and that's what he was declaring in a very, very disrespectful way, because, of course, I'm wired to be disrespected by certain tones when spoken about my people. But if I wasn't wired to hear those tones, or if he was applying that thought to other types of people, guess what I would feel? Nada. Nothing. It's the self-exhaustion of my own people which makes his words offensive, not the applied thoughts for what it is that he's doing or the energy that I'm reading, which what is most important about what it is that I'm looking at. Jamel, you're not telling me to read his energy. You're telling me to ignore that and look at what it is that is applied based on what it is that I'm told about people like him, for which I'm not told to experience, because I'm told that they are to be suppressed and their voices are not to be heard. So I get to take your interpretation of who they are and then push myself away from ever experiencing them myself. And then I'll listen to your opinion and will vilify those people based on that opinion. And what I'm telling you is, that is the presence of an enemy trying to stand between me and my understanding of who may or may not be my enemies. That is what that is. They're standing in the way. I can't identify who loves me or hates me because they're telling me who hates me. And who are they? I'm not supposed to ask. So no, when I identify him, I'm not going to use their applied methods of saying he's a bad guy, because when I look at who he actually is, by way of what it is they told me not to do, which is experience him directly, I'm getting something entirely different than what it is they're telling me. So when I see Kanye West walking through the airport with this guy, you know what I'm thinking? I know why. I know why. I realize that I'm more like that than I am like any of the other stuff that I'm told I'm supposed to be. I'm more like Ye than like anything else. But unlike Ye, I'm able to articulate that in a way that ain't gonna piss everybody off. I hope. What I'm telling you is, Now, I don't agree with what that dude said. And I don't know if I'd have a conversation would come to a conclusion that he would agree with anything I would say. But he's not going to walk away so certain about who we are as he was when he was speaking in that camera about stuff that he didn't understand. Once he finishes talking to me, he's going to have a different opinion because he's going to have me to apply it to. Simply put, I'm the solution. As I always tell you, I'm not waiting for your political side to tell me I can't listen to somebody hateful. If I listen to them and I find that they're hateful, I'll identify that. I got that part. I understand that. Just like I can identify who's standing between me telling me that I can't identify that person or shouldn't identify that person. Don't be over there, the separate and conquer method. People do it in relationships. Pay attention to this type of stuff. They get in your life and they try to wedge you between you and your family, wedge you in between you and your friends, wedge you in between you and anything. Shoot, they just want to be between you and whatever else. This is that in a different way. And it is masked as censorship. It is masked as protecting the people from things that should not come their way so that you will be protected from hate speech. But what is actually protecting you when you keep seeing every 3 weeks somebody walk into us somewhere and do something without having to traumatize or bring back memories or say, you get the point. Every 3 weeks we get something traumatic experience where we know that the censorship just simply didn't work. Whatever they were censoring, that person's brain, they got the wrong stuff and now they're acting out. Ain't censorship supposed to be stopping or limiting that or something? Ain't that what they supposed to be doing with their all-seeing eye? You got the super technology or whatever. It's alleged out there that they can see everything, be everything, and everywhere, whatever, but they can't stop these crazies from doing crazy things, right? But they want to tell us that they're doing such a great job censoring everybody, keeping us all safe, or protecting us and protecting them, and exalting this group and not exalting that group where it's all supposed to be fine because that's what's important. I don't know why that's important. Why that group more important than those groups, I don't know. Because you're telling me they're more important today because you're trying to make money off of them today. So that's like, today we're going to say they're the most important group. It's just so much nonsense that doesn't make sense, that's rooted in misdirection and poor energy and trying to get people to back themselves into corners based on whatever political backings that may be taking place and pressed upon from all different directions. The politics of this country, man, just like the politics of this city, I'm telling you, the parallels are endless. Layers and layers of layered parallels, fam. Entendres, I guess you can call it. I don't even know. It's just layered methods that I keep on seeing. And I'm just like, man, people, that's really all humans do. I'm trying to tell you that's all we do is we just take stuff that works and just keep reapplying it in various ways. And then every once in a while you get the yays who will give you a different formula. And just like every single generation that does this, they're always married to their agreements and none the wiser to that they are agreements. Just matter of fact, this is it and that is all. And they proceed to call the yays crazy every single time. They proceed to use their understanding or lack thereof to apply whatever it is that they think they know what they're seeing in regards to what they're seeing, even though what they're seeing is brand spanking new. They've never seen anything like this in their lives. But because they've seen other stuff that looks something like this, they apply it, and therefore it is fact until they're proven different. Then, eureka, we've seen something new. Oh my God. It's like, can't we just have the oh my God without the eureka? Can't we just kind of see the fact that we always messing up, not knowing, but always being pretentious as if we know, and until we find out we don't know? Can't we just skip all that? This is why progress is so slow, because this is how we retake and retain information, because we're always married to some bullcrap that's in place for us to be confused and move slow. The progress comes slow because this stuff is in place for us to move slowly. And that's why I'm just like, man, can we skip all this, please? Can this generation just skip all of this and to kind of learn from some of the mistakes that none of the generations behind us have ever done, never fully learned from? Because they were too busy being married to tradition that was often put in place to keep people married to tradition. You ever wonder about that? Like, a lot of these things are just put in place just to control you from generation to generation to generation. Because a lot of the plans that are in place are meant to be in place for 10 years longer than your lifespan is supposed to be. So if a person wants something done 500, 600 years, they got to have it passed down through generations. And most people in these generations are short-sighted, thinking about themselves in these moments. And that's why these 600-year plans get to keep on going, because you get to keep these people all confused about whatever the moment of the day is, whatever the celebrities of the day is, whatever the culture of the day is, whatever the norms of the day is, and then slow progress, just bring them along. Just bring them along, slow progress. And they appreciate the slow progress because, that's what it is. Progress is always slow. No, every generation is always married to some crap that they can't let go of. That's why progress is always slow. Skip it this time. That's all I'm saying. We got a new tool in place. It's internet. We see the truth. We can look at and see the lies. We don't have to keep up these lies. We don't have to act like these people have a hold on the world when we can clearly see they do not. It's okay to unearth them. You don't have to be afraid of them anymore. That's essentially what I'm telling you. They lied. They lied about what the word hate actually means. They lied about what the word love actually means. They lied about the scale from which you should reach. They lied about what you're going to find when you get there. They lied about all kinds of different stuff. What you should want, how you should want it, what you are, how you should see yourself, how you should see others, all of it. It needs to be filtered. And if you disagree, believe me, you will keep this crap going. Some of it needs to be kept, and that's the truth. Some of it's great. Some of it really works for us. But if we don't find out what does and what doesn't, and we keep on letting them do this, it's going to be more generations of kids that are just going to continue to have these formulas. They're not going to know no better, and they're going to run into the same fate as us and our grandparents and everybody else who kept the bull crap going for others to suffer and have to fight so hard to overcome. Gotta fight so hard. It's because people are compliant and afraid to be the change in the world that they want to see. They're afraid to have a conversation with somebody that they've been told they shouldn't talk to because if you have a relationship with God, then you ain't gonna let no man tell you can't experience somebody else. Because God gonna let you know that spirit is evil. Get away from that. You're gonna have that energy in your heart. You're gonna know that that's not for your spirit. You're gonna walk away from it. I don't need a pie in the sky, fake God entity to tell me anything about energy when they can't even read energy properly their damn selves. So you got those who don't have spiritual energy fooled because they can't tell the difference. People like myself, you can't do that with us. We read spiritual energy just well, so you're not going to be able to lie to us and tell us somebody who's evil is good and somebody who's good is evil. We can see you. We know you evil. We ain't got to look at your definitions of nothing. You the problem. And you've been able to effectively silence every single soul by way of fear and every different way. They greed, all this different stuff. And I'm just telling you, I don't care about none of it. I promise you, I will never care about any of that. I care more about the truth than I care about any of those things, man. Because the way I see it, I'm going to die anyway. Everybody going to die anyway. And everybody who's ever went in their grave should have said more, man. Everybody. All of y'all. Especially those behind the curtain benefiting from it. Y'all should have said more. Y'all went in y'all graves because y'all was scared. Because y'all let people next to you influence you into staying silent. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing that. Because when I lay my head down, regardless of how it happens, it's going to be moments like these where I know I use my voice. I ain't let these people psych me into thinking that compliance is the way forward when we know there's evil running the show. Hell no. Because God's in the sky and we know they ain't running nothing. But we got to be believers, man, enough to just let him have the glory through by way of our truth. We can't be sitting up here letting the evil run the show, being afraid to tell people from behind the curtain that, we're not going to go with what you got going on because we know better. And you should know better too, and here's why. That's what we can do. Be the solution to them. Minds change, y'all. Every time we get into a situation where we want to fight one another, you want to take somebody's head off. But that's not the race. That's not the solution. It's to change that mind, not take it off. It's the influence that you can use by way of your reasoning that these people don't want you to have. It's essentially what I'm telling you. I realized that Kanye West and myself can reach that guy. By way of listening to him for 5 minutes, I know I can reach him. I know I can. I don't think it. I don't question it. I know I can. Why? Because of what came out of his mouth. which was, I don't understand why they do these things, but because I don't understand and I'm from where I'm at in the world, it looked crazy to me, and because of it, it needs to be applied a certain way. So y'all need to be stopped because I don't understand why until you understand why. Well, this is why we do this, and this is why we did that. And you know what your people did to us? This is why we did that. Check out what this is. Look at this document. You see what this is? Now let me tell you what this is. Now this is what they hid from us. This is why. Now look at this. Now this is what's going on. Now they're pinning us against you and I. Now this is why they want us to see you as evil guy. Now this is why they want you to look at us as somebody who's belittled. Now this is why our neighborhoods are so bad. Now this is why. That's what we need to be doing, Jamel. Not saying, because I'm on the Democratic side, and because I don't really understand this guy, and because my people say that guy's a bad guy, we all need to stay away from that guy and never apply thought. I promise you, everybody goes in their graves and the world doesn't get no better being that way. Nobody. We pass these troubles to our kids and they're just as stupid as we are because we don't engage in better energy and we're not going to teach them how to. Enough. I'm not taking this from my priest or from none of that. This is not coming from a preacher. I don't want no dollars. I don't want nothing from the Cash App. None of that. This is just factual truth that comes out of my mouth in the moment. There is a difference between the guy that was walking through the airport with Kanye West and Hitler and Stalin and all of the worst murderous, evil human beings that have walked the earth. There's a difference. Now, here's the kicker, though. Those who influence and stand between us have the ability to affect things in that kind of way, the way a Stalin would, the way a Hitler would, the way one of those evil people. They can affect the world the way those people did several times over. Not to say that they're doing it in an evil way or causing people to die or not. I'm just saying that they can. And when they engage in bad energy, people do die. Things do go left. People do starve. So maybe they didn't do it in that way, but it still drops the same amount of bodies. It still leaves the same amount of people all screwed up. So don't tell me they ain't evil. When I see them keeping up nonsense for reasons that they will not explain, that aligns their pocket to keep other people in the dark, don't tell me that they ain't evil. When they're trying to define evil and keep me away from being able to change people's minds, if at all possible. People may want to kill me because they don't understand me. What I'm supposed to do, pop his head off? Now all of his enemies, all the people that love him are now my enemy, right? Because I didn't engage in an idea that could maybe change his mind. Now I made it so that he don't have a mind. So now everybody who loved him wants to take mine. We got blood in the streets. Nobody changed their mind. Nobody got any solutions. The kids don't have their fathers. Their moms don't have their husbands. None of that's going on because we spilt our blood in the street and we figured it out. That's a solution for all the problems that we've ever had. To kill everybody. It ain't changing nobody's mind. Kill them all. We don't believe they can change their minds. It's evil. You feel vindicated in what exactly? Passing these methods to your kids so they can kill each other too? And I watch generation after generation do this. Put our flag here. Kill them all. And it's like, where did you get but sadness for your children to pass on to their kids and therefore? I'm over it, man. There are higher ways of living and thinking and praying and being and engaging in life, and I just know better than to allow those who stand between us and that to continue to do so without my voice being used to step up and say something else about it. They're in the way. They've been in the way. And that's the bigger picture. They're in the way of progress, of wars ending, of people being able to find who they are and change the way they view others and change the way they view themselves, change the way they interact with their own people and change the way they interact with other people and caring about things that they're told not to give a damn about. Why is my focus not on other places where they need me? I discovered myself to be a prayerful person, a compassionate person. Why don't I know what's going on in Iran? Why don't I know what's going on in various places? Why don't I know what's going on in the worst places in the world? Where things are horrible, where children are being tortured. Why am I not aware about this? Why don't I have a country full of people that look like me and mobilizing our efforts to help people? Why are we thinking about killing each other instead of helping each other when we have solutions in our brains? I know they're here. Because we've been taught how to kill each other by people who made us love it, which is the point. They made us love it through the music, through the video games, through the practices of just, God knows how they can manipulate what happens once they cage people, and how that influences the culture, and how people want to engage in certain practices that keep that going. We don't even talk about the stuff that they have control over in that way. And everybody wants to look at each other. How much power do you have? Black folks need to get up, get themselves together, and do what? And change what? How? If not this way. If not first attacking what it is that's actually the problem, the crux and the foundation from which all of this is messed up. The efforts and the mobilized money of the people behind the curtain who don't have any desire but to play God without actually having the wisdom to be God. You talk about it ad nauseum. If you follow my channel, ain't nothing I'm saying new at all. But it does need to be said 786 times so that people can get it each and every time they see me. So that we can pass this message to our kids and pass it to our loved ones and pass it in our businesses or whatever. And just understand that first of all, just because you benefit from something does not mean it cannot be manipulated against everyone. And if we don't have that on the forefront of our mind, the tip of our tongues, when we wake up in the morning and we go to sleep at night, we are going to be manipulated, and we're going to be passing those practices of manipulation to our children, because that is exactly how they have us by the balls, and that's how they've had every one of our ancestors by the balls. And that is how it's going to change. It's going to be by our ways changing first. So I don't condemn Kanye West for walking through the airport with that guy, or sitting down with that guy, or trying to involve him in whatever conversations, because somebody from somewhere who is in those places that he thinks he understands but doesn't understand very well, but wants to talk about so very much and belittle the people and talk about what solutions he feels need to be had so that his people can be safe against those people that he's afraid of and don't understand. He needs to understand why he doesn't need to be afraid of those people, and why he needs to understand more so about those people going forward before speaking against them. He needs to understand how he has egg on his face because of what his people did to those people, and how he should not speak that way because of it. He ain't gonna know that unless he sits down with somebody who is intelligent enough and open-minded enough to first sit down with him and then convince him of such. And it ain't gonna be nobody who's politically driven to banish him to purgatory forever. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.